Well, for more on what can be done about the situation in Ukraine, I'm joined now by Democratic Senator Joe Manchin. He sits on the Armed Services Committee. Senator Manchin, thanks very much for joining me.
Thanks
We've
for
been
having me,
in Minsk before. We were there in September. They negotiated a ceasefire. It didn't hold. Do you think there's any chance of success this time?
You know, you always have to pray that there will be success and the bloodshed will stop. I think the United States, I understand, our government is more committed now to helping Ukraine defend itself. I think that's a long time in coming. I hope that we can do that as quickly as possible so that they know that we're serious about supporting Ukraine and them defending themselves.
I mean, in a sense, the situation is even harder now than it was a few months ago because the separatists, backed by Russia, are making advances. Why on earth would they be prepared to negotiate a peace deal when they're on the offensive?
Well, I guess it depends on who's leading the charge, as they may say. If it's coming from the Russian government and Putin, if it's coming from the separatists themselves, it's hard to tell. The bottom line is that President Poroshenko and the Ukrainians are determined to defend themselves, to hold on to their country, and we should be committed to helping them do that by giving them the necessary weapons they need.
And you realize, of course, that this puts America in a very different camp from Europe at the moment. The Europeans are adamant that arming the Ukrainian government would just escalate the situation. How do you respond to that?
Well, I don't think you could stand by, and I mean, this is not a fair fight, as you know. And you see the might of the Russian military that's lending their hand towards this. It's going to be the will of the people, and who's going to be able to bring this to an end. And you'd love to be able to do it diplomatically, but if it can't be done diplomatically, it would be wrong for us to sit on the sidelines and not have the Ukrainians having the ability to defend themselves.
But is there really a military solution to this? I mean, the risk is, of course, that you give defensive weapons to the Ukrainians and Russia just pours more weapons into the situation.
I think that if Russia knows that we're determined to back and help Ukraine, maybe that would help bring them to the table quicker. Come to a solution, because you're right, there is no military solution. There's just heartache and misery and destruction, if you will. We don't want that to happen. But do you think they're going to stop if they know they have the upper hand and no one's lending them any help to have the weapons to defend themselves?
Do you think we have to accept eventually that that chunk of eastern Ukraine has fallen under Russian influence?
I don't think we should be accepting that as long as Poroshenko and his government and his people are willing to fight and die for their home country. I don't think that should be done at all.
Do you think the people of West Virginia who elected you to office think that this is America's fight to fight? Would they support the idea of America getting involved by sending more weapons? Because let's face it, if you send more weapons, you are more involved than you are at the moment.
Well, basically that's true, but if we don't, then all of our NATO allies are going to look and say, okay, is America really going to be there for us? Are they going to be committed to helping? And I think that's what we have to be sending, a strong signal and a strong message that we are there. And we will prohibit, and we will help those who wish to defend themselves and help themselves. And I think that is a stronger signal than anything that can be done. If you're going to bring people to the peace table, let them know that both sides are going to be in serious situation of losing, and nobody gains by this. But if they think that they can overpower you, I don't see them backing off at all.
So for you, this is about more than Ukraine?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I think any of us who sit on armed services and are briefed on what's going on in that part, and also the uneasiness a lot of our NATO allies have, they're watching very carefully how we do and how well we will support. And if we're committed to giving the arms that are needed for the Ukrainians and Poroshenko to do their job and defend themselves.
Okay, Senator Joe Manchin, thank you very much for joining me.
Thank you, Katie.